is going on? This is your old pal CHH. Check it out, guys. Arrow Video, Deep Blue Sea. Yeah, it's pretty cool that Arrow got this. They'll always surprise you every now and again with like a big title. Now, going back to the early 2000s, Deep Blue Sea was like the movie. I remember renting this from Blockbuster on VHS, mind you, because we didn't really get the PlayStation 2 till like a year later. So I think this was 2002 when this movie came out. Actually, no, it was 1999 is what it says. Well, we definitely rented it on VHS. That I remember. And I remember when we got it just being like so terrified by this movie. For me, Deep Blue Sea is an example of a movie that, you know, it's got practical stuff in it, but it's also got CGI stuff in it. But it's not CGI that necessarily insults you as an audience member. My problem with CGI today is some of it's getting so good that when you watch it, it gets really close, but somehow it'll piss you off because you know you're being lied to. With practical effects, obviously, you know that they actually built this thing that's in camera. But when CGI is charming, I'm okay with it. And I feel like they do stuff well, CGI-wise in this, but also when it needs to be charming and a little silly, it works. But I gotta say, in terms of shark movies, if you're not gonna watch Jaws or Orca, Deep Blue Sea to me is like the movie. It has this great ensemble cast, and I remember this was one of my first notions of like really being exposed to Sam Jackson when I was a kid, and I loved him. He commands the screen. Whatever scene he's in, you know that he is, you know, somebody when you're watching him. He just has that X factor. And I also remember seeing a young Michael Rappaport in here who had this kind of shrill, annoying voice, but I kind of related to him because he was a scaredy cat. And God knows I would have been terrified if I was even in any remote situation like this movie. But this movie is so fun. And I love the premise. There's this huge underwater lab in the ocean that these guys are working at. And first of all, that's clearly CGI work, but it's terrifying looking. Just like this huge vessel underwater where all this experimentation's going on. They're trying to do some stuff with these sharks to kind of make them smarter with more protein. But in reality, what it does, it makes them more smart. They become more hostile and they want to kill the humans and eat them for food, basically. It's like a reverse fish tank. The sharks are trying to bust into this whole thing, and they're trying to run away from them, and there's moments where this place is flooding and the sharks are going through the, you know, the hallways where there's 2 or 3 feet of water. It's really riveting. I really enjoy this film, but my favorite scene, and I never forgot it when I was a kid, was LL Cool J as the chef with a little bird. Steals the movie. 1000% steals the movie. The best scene in here is when he kills the shark. And there's that great scene where he gets into the oven turns on, the shark's trying to bust in it, and that last line, "You ate my bird," and then boom, it's so fun. Fun is a great way to describe this movie, especially when you looked at who directed it, Renny Harlin. When it comes to people involved from horror films and directors, Renny Harlin has to be up there as like a guy that did some huge movies. Now, not everything I think Renny did is a masterpiece, but I think when it comes to his catalog, like I like Deep Blue Sea as much as like Cliffhanger or the Die Hard movie he did. Like I love Deep Blue Sea, the only shark movies that I think is legitimately good, and I enjoy it so much. There's some great visual stuff in here. There's this big vessel where they got to climb up a ladder, and above them, really high up, everything's like molten fire, but below them, the water's rising, and they have to go up, but the shark gets in there, and there's a great shot of a girl getting eaten by a shark that comes up. I'm sure some of that stuff was probably practical, but like I said, the CGI stuff that does happen when somebody gets ate, it doesn't look good enough to where you're almost being tricked. And I don't know what it is, but I prefer that with CGI as opposed to it getting super close, because for some reason in my psyche I get mad like I'm being lied to. I don't know if anybody can relate to that. I couldn't recommend the movie more, and I'll be honest with you, we're going to talk about the specs of this release and everything, but at the end of the day, this is worth buying because of the movie. Above anything else, the movie is that good that it deserves to be owned in a great format like this from Arrow Video, with all kinds of special features and stuff included in this awesome packaging. So it's interesting that Arrow has now begun to do slip cases over their boxes. I used to kind of think it was silly, but now I'm kind of used to it, so it is what it is. But the cover on this, Deep Blue Sea, it's got a pretty good look. I like that. It's not bad. Did you guys know that there's 2 sequels? There was a third Deep Blue Sea movie that came out in like 2019 or something. I have it. It's not good. It's not good whatsoever. So here's the case. Same thing with the shark on the back. And there's some cool-looking sharks in this movie. So I got the Blu-ray version. And I know some of you are like, what? Here's why. It is a little bit cheaper, and I figured somebody needs to do a review for the Blu-ray version. I'm sure there's some people out there that did it, but I saw all my friends and people that I know on the internet that got it. They got the 4K version. So I figured, why not do the Blu-ray version? Because it's still got the restoration and everything, and I can show you guys just the casing and everything. So you can reverse the art on this, obviously, to have the original poster art. But I got to be honest, I do like what they did, especially on the case. So I'm going to keep it like that. I think that looks good. I like that. Deep Blue Sea. You also get your poster. Of course, has the original and new artwork on one side. Boom. Like I said, if you're not going to watch Jaws or Orca, Deep Blue Sea would be like the movie I say go watch. And, of course, that amazing booklet. God, I love that smell. All right, this is pretty cool. There's all kinds of pictures through here. It's actually a nice booklet. It looks like storyboards for everything. The storyboards are always fun because I just appreciate the art of that. Somebody had to take a lot of time to do that. But awesome stuff in here. Awesome stuff in here. You'd learn a lot about the book. I always love flipping through the books as I start the movie. So, you get all those extras, but there's more. And we'll look in here. We get a card that just kind of promotes Arrow as well as new titles. Look at that. That's nice. That's a great... Yeah, that's the moment. That's the moment I was telling you about. Great moment in the movie. And there's only 3 cards. I don't know why. Like, usually I say I don't even need these, but it's weird that you just get 3. All right, guys, let's look at the back and look at the special features. Then I'll talk to you guys about the picture quality. All right, guys, so as you can see, the limited edition Blu-ray content, we do as well still have the 4K restoration of the film of the original camera negative by Arrow, approved by Rennie Harlan. 1080p presentation. You got 5.1 and Dolby Atmos. And as you can see, guys, I'm not going to read through all of this, but it looks like a lot of this stuff is classic special features, but we do have brand new audio commentaries with Duncan Kennedy, brand new audio commentaries with Rebecca McKendry, and then archival commentaries. But we have some cool video essays, Beneath the Surface. We have When Sharks Attack, The Making of Deep Blue Sea, an archive featurette, The Sharks of the Deep Blue Sea, an archive featurette, deleted scenes. So they have some new commentaries in there, which is nice, and it's always good to have those classic, because you got to remember, this is one thing to keep in mind. In these days, back around the, the early 2000s when this came out, one of the biggest selling points for DVD was that, having actually good special features and things that would make it worthwhile to get. So even though those are legacy features, it is nice that they're well-done features. And I will say this about the picture quality. Obviously I can't speak for the 4K, but having the new restoration on here, I thought it looked extremely good, very, very cinematic, and I would give the picture quality on this a solid 9 out of 10. Super happy with it. I don't have the Blu-ray, like the studio Blu-ray of this. I have, I think, an old Snapper Case DVD, and this just looks like a much better version of that. It's very, very crisp, very cinematic, but very natural, too. Sometimes I remember on Blu-rays, and maybe it's just a few examples that like really stick out in my head, but like I know that they kind of make some of them just look less filmic and just glossy looking, especially during like the early days of Blu-rays, I feel. So I don't know if the Deep Blue Sea Blu-ray looks like that, but this restoration being approved by Rennie and being done by Arrow, it looks fantastic. So if you're not a 4K person, or even if you are and you want to save a few bucks to have the nice collection, to have the nice release as a Blu-ray, I think you're still going to get a lot of bang for your buck. Now, in terms of the 4K, I would venture to say that looks really, really, really good. But watching this Blu-ray release, I have zero complaints. I'm happy with it. Sometimes with these Arrow releases, if I can save a few bucks and it's still the camera negative, I won't do it every time, obviously. Like the Conan films, you bet your ass I wanted those in 4K. But Deep Blue Sea, I'm pretty fine that I got the Blu-ray version of this. You still get all the extras. You still get the nice release, and it looks really good. So above all else, I'll say this. If you're just kind of on the fence, maybe you haven't seen this movie, it's an awesome movie. I mean, it's a 10 out of 10 on the fun factor, and the rewatch value is extremely high. There's just some great scenes. It's almost nightmare fuel stuff, ironically, with this being Rennie Harlan, because of the idea of, like, if a place is flooding and you're, like, in this big hall and you see a fin coming down the hall in, like, 4 feet of water, that would... Oh my God, I would just want to pass out and die right then. Nightmare-fueled scenes, but so fun. 10 out of 10 on the fun factor. So there you have it, guys. Deep Blue Sea. I do recommend picking this up. If not, wait for the standard version too. There ain't nothing wrong with that. But above all else, this is the best release for Deep Blue Sea, I think, at this time. Thank you guys for watching. This is your old pal CHH, and I'll see y'all next time. Happy collecting. Huge, giant thank you to all of my Patreon supporters. Without you guys, this would not be possible. To get behind-the-scenes photos, videos, music, private live streams, and much more, you can subscribe to my Patreon for as little as $1 a month. Thank you to my patrons.